Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Johnny, and just real quick, I want to show off my sweater. It says Cool Dads Club. I'm actually sitting in the nursery for our daughter, our first child, who's going to be coming in April. This is the nursery that we made for her, so I just wanted to show it off, you know, Cool Dads Club. Number one on my list is Sonic Adventures 1 Director's Cut. I know a lot of people love Sonic Adventures 2. I love it as well. I think it's a wonderful game. It's a lot of fun. It's different mechanics definitely than the first one. In fact, probably exploiting more of those mechanics, but I fell in love with the first one. It was my first real Sonic game I ever played. I remember when I was like around 8 years old, actually maybe a little younger. And my cousin, who was living upstairs at the time in my parents' house, had brought down his console and said, hey, you're not gonna be able to play any of these games. Like, do not, because they're probably rated M, or I don't remember. Just not for a child, I suppose, but he said, you can play this one. And it was Sonic Adventures 1. I don't think Adventures 2 had come out at that time, so it was just called Sonic Adventures, Director's Cut. And I remember the first time playing it, and it's like this 3D world, and you're playing as Sonic, and I love Sonic. I thought he was so cool, and he had, you know, this teenager voice. I don't know, I guess as a kid, like, that was cool. And the world that you were in, and that you hop in this train to go to this jungle part of I guess you would call planet Earth, or whatever planet they're on. I always got confused about that within the Sonic lore. But you go on this train, and you're in this other section of the game, and then you had all these different levels and, you know, platforming, but it was more than just platforming. Like, it was puzzle solving. Of course, you had the classic running towards the camera as the whale is jumping through and crashing through the bridge as you're running on it, and you're trying to make sure you don't get caught by it. I love the game. All right, number two, again, no particular order, is Alan Wake 2. Really both of the Alan Wakes, but Alan Wake 2 because I like horror games, and then you got survival horror, and then psychological horror, and then you have good storytelling, and then you just have all these things in one amazing game. It was a game that just invoked thinking. It had new mechanics, or it utilized previous used mechanics in other games in a unique way. And I can't wait for the third one. There has to be a third one. It makes no sense for it not to be. Here's another game that I also knew nothing about, and that's God of War. Now, I actually still haven't played the first three when they first count, when he's you know, fighting the Greek gods of Olympus. Never played them. I've heard about them. I think I watched a few quick playthroughs, but nothing really to pique my interest. In fact, I didn't like it because it was on PlayStation and I couldn't play it on my Xbox. But then I bought a PlayStation 4 and I didn't know anything. And I remember coming back to Chick-fil-A, clocking back in, and my friend was like, why did you buy this? And I'm like, I don't know, it looks cool. And he's like, okay. And I get home, and then for the next month, I think, I couldn't put this game down. I'm so driven by story, and that is so important that that's the first thing that's part of the game. And I knew that as soon as you can start it up. When you hit start, and then all of a sudden that menu transitions so seamlessly right into cutting down the tree with Kratos, and then you're meeting Atreus, and then you're going back to the home and all these things. If you have not played this game, do yourself a favor and do play it. But the first game made more impact because it was a father and son story that was a broken relationship from a broken past, and it was all about this redemption and how to sacrifice and how to lead your family in the right way. And I'm like, that's an awesome story, because everything else was just in the world of the mythology, within the Norse gods, with all these other things that were so fantastical, and the fighting mechanics, let alone the fighting mechanics, were amazing. Throwing that axe, the Leviathan, you know, getting other weapons down the line, but how each thing was progressing the story and the character's development, even with the weapons you got, the powers you get, the people who give you those powers, everything. And it was simple, but if you can be as complex as you want to, granted what the game would allow you to, in upgrades and armor and ruins and whatever you want it to do. God of War, I really do think, like, overall, this game is my number one because it was so unexpected. I love Greek and Norse mythology. I love the combat. I love the characters. I love everything. It's not a perfect game, but I'd give it like a 9.9 out of 10. Just based on the experience. All right, this next one is not really so much of a game, but a part of a game, Call of Duty Zombies. And I think a lot of you probably feel very similarly about it as I do. And that is that, remember going back home after school, getting on, say, Black Ops 1 and playing Kino and just getting with a group of friends, getting to level 45, pack-a-punching, finishing the Easter eggs together, but better yet, not even just playing online, but going over a friend's house, sleeping over, and then staying up all night playing the game. This has a lot to do with nostalgia, this particular game. I will still play it, but no one really does, and the new stuff I hear isn't great. I mean, it always seems that like they want to keep adding, but the beauty of Zombies was the simplicity with an elaborate story. And you would slowly find things within the map that would tell the story subtly. A lot of people don't even know about the story of Zombies. Some people don't even care. For me, I like lore. I like hidden secrets. I like this stuff. I like mystery. And Zombies was a lot of that. That was more on my own time, but a lot of times when I would go over my friends or my cousin's house, we would stay up all night playing split screen and playing Zombies. So that's on my list for sure. Not so heavily of a candidate as others, but I had to put it in there. Next on this list is Stanley Parable. Some of you may have never heard of this game. Others have played it. Others have only watched a playthrough like me. That's why and how I found the game, and that's why I loved it. Eventually I did play it, and I still loved it even more. And now that they came out with the Stanley Parable Deluxe, Stanley Parable 2 Deluxe, I believe it's called. It's kind of a joke on the whole thing. And that expands the game even further, which it didn't even need that, but the fact that it did is wonderful, and that's why I love it. But I love the game for its meta commentary, its comical relief, its creative genius of how to display different aspects of life, philosophy, psychology, and the gaming industry as a total. It doesn't have combat, it doesn't have those things, and some people don't even consider a game to not have those elements as a game, rather than more than just an experience or a simulator. And in fact, they actually go into that in the game about what is a game. And I love that. And that got my brain turning and the gears moving. This has allowed me to actually dive deeper into more of what I like and what I'm interested. So this one has more of a personal effect on me in a different way. Basically, just to understand what I like and what I don't like. Next here, we got Assassin's Creed 2. I love that whole era of history. And Ezio was just such a cool character. He was kind of like angsty and rebellious, but he also had to learn what family is and the hurt and his responsibility as an assassin. And then you moved into Desmond's world, which I'm still so disappointed that they cut that character off. I still don't understand it from a story's perspective. I get it. No, I don't even get it from a money's perspective. I still think that's the dumbest decision ever made in gaming history. But Assassin's Creed 2 allowed you to scale buildings at any time, ride your horse across Rome, fight guards, get different weapons, increase skills, have a great story, and again, the mystery, like what's going on, like who are these assassins and who are these entities and what's with Desmond. I love Desmond's story. And again, I hate that they got rid of him. So again, a lot of reasons why a game is good is because of nostalgia, but it doesn't necessarily make the game bad in experience for what you've had. Let me know also what your favorite Assassin's Creed game is. I know they've gotten worse and worse over the years, but I'm curious to know. All right, next we got Skyrim. Now, for those who've been watching the 5-part series that I've only gotten to get through of my Skyrim playthrough, because my game got messed up, corrupted, and moved, and all this other garbage. It is one of my favorite games also. It is annoying that Bethesda can still put out this game for $60 as a re-release, and even though they haven't really done much of anything, I think it's criminal. But the game itself was so interesting that it was a true open world with thousands of quest lines and different interactions and creating your character and moving across Skyrim to the mountains. If you saw a mountain there, you can walk over to that mountain. And that to me was so wild. And for a lot of people it was. And the game was so long and it was so big, and For me, as I mentioned in my live stream, it's really a comfort game. I play about every winter, and if I miss a winter, I'm watching lore videos about it because I just love the world of Skyrim. And I wish they would come out with Elder Scrolls 6 or do something as a release, you know, seeing a trailer that's more than a drone shot, but Skyrim is on the list for sure. Another one that doesn't probably come to anybody's surprise is Red Dead Redemption 2. I have never played the first one, and I'm kind of an offender of this kind of practice. I haven't played like the first game, or I haven't played this game, or I haven't done this thing. Red Dead Redemption 2 was such an industry-shaking game and what it can do. The amount of detail, again, I'm very detail-orientated. I like small little details like eyes and their pupils dilating in the kind of light that you're in as a character, gun getting gunked up, having to clean it, brushing your horse, the diet you're eating. It kind of gets into a little bit of a micromanaging system, but you can still play the game without doing any of those things and you're fine. But if you want to take the time to really invest into what the game has to offer about decay is really what it is, you can do that. I love the Western genre and the Western dialogue and the weapons and the characters and the interactions between people. And being this cowboy, this outlaw, and being able to do that and take care of your horse and be part of this gang, and you know, you're struggling to know where you fit in the world, whether you know you're a bad man but you have a good heart, and how that's shaped you and how that carries throughout all the different relationships you have within the game. And not even that, but just the scenery of the game. Looking at it, even when it was on the Xbox One, when it was stuck at 30 frames a second with probably medium quality presets, it looked amazing. And now that you can play it on the PC, you've unlocked frames and graphics and ray tracing, it's beautiful. Alien Isolation. It was my first horror game that I played, because everything else I watched, Slender Man, all that other stuff. It was the first one that I played, and I was not, again, I don't expect anything. I don't really know. I just see, oh, that's a cool concept. I want to play that, or I like this, I'm going to play it. And a lot of people that haven't played the game, but the people who have said really nice things and great things about the game. For me, it was like when they first went over the AI or the programming around the alien itself, and how it's not a scripted AI, but more of a reactionary type of AI to the character and the different inputs, and I guess you could say sensory inputs and outputs from your character or someone else, and then the alien will respond. I'm probably butchering that explanation, but it would react to whatever you did. And I thought that was so cool. I guess I don't know if it's survival horror, but you couldn't fight against the alien. Like, you couldn't kill it. You know what I mean? Like, you just had to run and hide. So whatever that version's called, that's what it was. Of course, you can kill androids and the people, but the alien was the main threat, and you couldn't do that. I just remember being like in these situations where maybe you're even in the medical bay, and it's just the most terrifying thing. You can see the saliva from the alien dripping down from the vent, and you're like, holy crap, like that like the alien's right there. I can die, or you can come out, or whatever. And it was constant like anxiety. You never felt safe. I know a lot of people don't do horror games. I don't do horror movies. I don't care for that. But horror games, the stories that are good and compelling and interesting, but yet also don't need to be jump scares to scare you. It's just the atmosphere in itself, especially space. Oh, so cool. All right, this last one is Amnesia: The Dark Descent. Yes, PewDiePie played it. Markiplier. I'm sure Jack did, but he never recorded it, at least that I know of. I remember watching Tobuscus play it, actually. That was the first person for me who played the game. And I loved it. I didn't have a computer to play the game, nor my parents would probably let me. Or, you know, I didn't have the means of getting my hands on it, so YouTube was the way to do it. And even from that, it became one of my favorite games. I was like, so you're defenseless, it's first person, you can move things however you want. Then there's this like monster, but you don't see it until like way later in the game, but you still feel like it can come out at any moment, but you didn't really know that at the time until after you play the game. The atmosphere was so incredibly well crafted. It was so simple of a game. You had the psychological part of it where you literally had sanity to take care of. You had limited resources of oil in your lantern, and matches to light different candles or objects within the game to keep your sanity up, and just the story and the voice acting and the language was just all there for me. The environment of the mahogany desks and the big mansion and the basements and the torture chambers, all of this came together to make this big story, and the environment told the story. So that's why for me it was such a great game. Eventually I did play it, and I do want to play more custom stories, and even playing it I was like, I knew exactly everything that was going to happen, and yet I was still scared. And I'm like, this is great. I love it. That right there are my top 10. I honestly had a little bit of trouble trying to figure out how to fit all the games I like in a list, because there are so many more that I do also love that could be on this list. But I just wanted to go over these 10. Let me know what you thought about the Game Awards and if they're rigged or they're not rigged, and I'm sure they are, but Baulders Gate was deserving of it, even though in my heart Alan Wake 2 is where it needed to be. But yes, thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and if you did, please hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.